Hello, I'm Darren Hardy, entrepreneur mentor and publisher of Success Magazine, and I want to welcome you to Insane Productivity. This is a 12-part series on how to achieve extreme levels of personal productivity. This is where you'll learn to produce insane results, insanely fast, sanely. Okay, here we are, the final module of this program. Wow. What a journey we've had together. Think back to all the terrain we've traveled together. It's been, well, insane. In this last module, we're going to discuss the critical influences in your life and how they will shape your performance on a day-to-day basis and over time, and ultimately determine the entire outcome of your life. Of course, I'm talking about the influence of your environment and your associations. Let's rejoin the summit session for the final segment, and then I will come back and wrap up this module and give you some final action items to put all the pieces into place. I want to show you how to build your support system, because as you start to go along this new path, you're going to need support. I can't send you out there alone. If you don't build a support system around you, you will wither out there on your own. So you've got to build your support system. First off, we have to focus on your environment, the environment that surrounds you. In order to perform at world class, you need to operate in a world-class environment. If your environment is less than world class, it will be impossible for you to perform at world-class levels. Your environment informs and supports your behavior. Ask yourself the question, does your environment share your goals? Or is it forcing you to tire your willpower? Do you have all of these siren calls around you all the time that is just withering away at your willpower, withering away at your energy, so that you can't stay focused and operate at high level? To operate at high performance, your environment has to support high performance. I'm sure, Allison, the complaint you get all the time, well, if I weed all this stuff out of my cupboards, the rest of my family has to suffer too. It's like, look, you get the crap out of the closets, your family is better off for it, right? You don't want the siren calls attacking their weaknesses, tiring their willpower, and giving them the physical byproduct of eating this crap either. You all benefit for it. So you've got to create an environment in your home, your office, your car that supports high performance. And when you start to be the example and demonstrate how awesome it feels and how you show up as a result of this, you will inspire the people within your own environment. So eliminate the psychic piles. These people who say, I know where everything is. I know it looks cluttered, but I tell you, I know where everything is. That's a bunch of malarkey. That is all just unfinished business. And every time you span it, it's the siren call just depleting your energy. You've got to clear it. You've got to clear it. That's the reason why the most unproductive place for you is your office. Because in your office are all these stacks, files, messages of unfinished business. It is the worst environment for you to be productive. That's why you're more productive in the shower, driving, or on the plane. Because you're in an environment where none of these sirens are singing their song, depleting your energy and your willpower. So you've got to clear the psychic piles. Decide what information is critical to your goals and your interests, and then unsubscribe, delete, and throw away everything else. So I have a process I'll give you. So in my office, I take the files that have accumulated, and I'll take all of them and put them into a box, and I put that box in my garage. And if I do not go to that box looking for something over the next 6 months, it just gets thrown into the trash without even looking at it. I have a process with my closet. All the clothes that I haven't worn over the last few months, I take it and I put it in the closet on the other side of the house. And if I do not go looking for an article of clothing on the other side of the house for 6 months, my wife knows, take all the clothes, do not ask me again, do not
tempt me again with putting that thing back in my physical space and just take it all to Goodwill. It is such a powerful and cleansing process. And then you look at your closet and there's very little in there, but everything you love. You like that thing. Maybe there'll be a day, an occasion. Maybe it's been sitting in your closet for 2 years and you've not worn it. Get rid of it. Because every time it's part of your psychic pile. Before anything else, preparation. Preparation is one of the master skills for high performance operation. It's all done in preparation. Your ability to be great tomorrow has everything to do with what you do to prepare yourself tonight. Because as soon as you wake up, you've just got to run. You can't think about what you need to do. You can't think about what you need to prepare. It's too late. High performance tomorrow is going to be set for what you prepare today. That's the key to success. Alexander Graham Bell said that. And then invest in the best tools. There are a few things in your life that you need to invest in deeply. And it's as simple as this. The things that you spend the most of your life with. Do you know how many hours I log on this laptop? It's unbelievable. My philosophy is I always want the latest and best. Because $2,000, that's nothing. When you divide that by the number of hours that I spend on it, if it is just a little bit faster, if it is just a little bit more efficient, add that up over the number of hours that I spend on it, and I'll get that $2,000 back time over and over and over again. Here's another place. Your office chair. Do not cheap out on your office chair. Do you know the number of hours that your butt is sitting in that chair? It better support you. You better love it. It better have all that you want because you're spending a great deal of your life in it. Your car. You spend an inordinate amount of time in your car. It is one of those things in your life, it is worthy of investing in. When you get in your car, how does it make you feel? Does it support your best? Does it make you feel powerful and strong and confident? Or is it like something you want to park down the street? The number of hours you spend in, it's one of those worthy things. Look, there's a lot of things in your life that you don't need to spend a lot of money on. You know those pair of shoes that you wear one every 6 months? You don't need to spend a lot of money for that. Reallocate that money to the things that you spend a lot of your life in. Your bed. Your bed. A third of your life is spent on that mattress, on that pillow, holding your head of greatness. That pillow needs to be awesome. Do not have some raggedy-ass pillow holding this head of greatness and some cheap-ass mattress holding you up all night. Somebody goes, you spent $10,000 on a mattress? What? That's cheap. Divide that by the number of hours my butt is laying on that thing. A few areas, invest deeply. And then you can designate your tools too. This is an idea that I got from Seth Godin. He says, use your laptop for business and then maybe allocate your iPad for social media and shopping. And then don't do business on your iPad and don't do shopping and social media on your laptop. So now at least you know you have designated tools for designated activities. It was actually a great strategy. And then designate locations. Maybe you only do certain things in certain locations. So that when you do those things, mentally, you can focus and get into flow on those things. And associations. Associations is one of the most important influences of your entire life. In fact, the most powerful influence in your life is your associations. Let me tell it to you from Harvard. David McClellan says, after 25 years of research at Harvard, I've concluded that your choice of a reference group will more than any other factor determine what happens to you in life. Who you choose to hang around with. As my mentor said, you become the combined average of the 5 people you hang with the most. You will have the combined income. You will have the combined health. You'll have the combined relationships. You're like, how is that possible? Because you will read what they read. You will watch what they watch. You will talk about what they talk about. You will become aware of what they are aware of. And you will ultimately become the combined average of the 5 people. as Stephen Covey put it. Have you ever been walking with somebody and you're walking along, you're walking with them and you're having to constantly adjust because they walk slower than your normal pace? What ends up happening, in the beginning it'll be uncomfortable, but eventually you'll slow down and match their pace. On the contrary, have you ever been walking with somebody and they walk really fast and you're like, trying to keep up, right? Eventually you'll actually match their pace very comfortably. So will your life. If you walk with people who walk slow, your life will become slow. If you walk with people who walk at a fast pace, your life will pick up a fast pace. That's how powerful your associations influence you. Jim Rohn used to make this analogy. Have you ever been laying in a raft or an inner tube on a lake and you doze off for a little bit and you look up and you're like a mile down the shore? All the while, you never felt like you were moving at all. He says, that's how associations are. They don't shove you. You never feel it. They just nudge you. And you don't feel like you're moving at all, although you look up later and you're a mile away from where you started. That's the powerful influence of associations, which is why the great John Wooden, his number one advice to anybody was his 3x5 list. Let me give it to you. Write down the 5 people you spend the most time with professionally, the 5 people you spend the most time with personally, the 5 people you spend the most time with socially. So the personally is your friends, family. Socially might be people at the country club, people at church, what have you. And then you add a little roan in here. Some of those people on the list, you need to limit association with. There are people that you could spend 2 minutes with, but not 20. There are people you could spend 20 minutes with, but not 2 hours. There are people you could spend 2 hours with, but not 2 days. You have to figure out whether you've got a 2-day, 2-hour, 20-minute, or 2-minute friend. And don't spend inappropriate time with the inappropriate friend. That's limited association. Disassociation means maybe you just need to cut them off entirely. That's the hardest, but the most important one of the 3, until you get to number 3. And this is the one where you have to spend some effort, and that is expanded association. So now that you do your 3x5 list, you see the people who are in there, and you go, that's got to go, that's got to go. You have to ask yourself the question, this is the way Wooden put it. Is this person taking me in the direction that I want to go? Are they an accelerator or an anchor? Do they accelerate me or do they slow me down? Based on my goals of getting healthy, having a positive attitude, having a rich personal development philosophy, do they accelerate that or do they slow that? And if they slow that, they got to be stricken from the list. You've got to disassociate. And then you'll have some blank spots. And that's your opportunity to expand your associations, to put people in there that can help take you in the direction you want to go. So I provided you a little worksheet here for you to do your 3x5 list and then evaluate. Does this person need to be limited, dissed, or is there a spot here to expand? This will be extremely helpful for you. Look, we should take an hour so that you have the ability to write this down so it gets done. Please be the kind of achiever that says, you don't have to do that now, because I'll do it. You said it's important, I'll do it, okay? And if you do it, it will be very enlightening. And then ultimately, I want to have you build out your fortress of support with all these things involved. Your family, your health and fitness team, your mentors and coaches, your business partner team, all of it. And then build your board of advisors. Just want to point out the board of advisors. These are people who will support you to go, who will be your ambassadors, who will be your support group. And you want to build your board of personal advisors that are fit for purpose, which means, what are your goals? Now put the people on your board that support that. Just because they're a nice, great, talented person doesn't mean they actually fit your board of advisors. So you want to fit your board for purpose. It could be somebody that you meet or study. Look, 99% of my mentorship with Jim Rohn was through his materials. I went to lunch, had dinner with him here and there, but that was actually insignificant by comparison to the hundreds of hours that I spent under his tutelage listening to his materials. You don't actually have to meet the person who's on your board of advisors. You can use their materials and put them on your board. Some of you came to me and said, I've spent hundreds of hours with you. I've been on your board of advisors for years. And this is the first time you're meeting me. They could be alive or dead. They don't even have to be alive. You could have Abe Lincoln on your board of advisors. So when you're faced with a decision, you could even ask yourself the question, how would Abe decide on this? And go study his biography. You'll get a framework for his decision making. Hey, you could put Jesus Christ Almighty on your board of advisors. And you can even get a bracelet that says what? What would Jesus do? Right, that's my board member there, buddy. And it will help you. It'll help you. So they could be alive or dead. Hey, they could be real or fictional. My lovely in-law family, they have this fascination with superheroes. And these superheroes are actually very helpful for them. Because a lot of times they'll think, what would Batman do? Hey, if that helps you, that's awesome, right? So they could be real or fictional. Here on one piece of paper ends up becoming the ecosystem of your great support system. All the people in your life who are going to matter the most to supporting your ability to live a high-performance life is on one piece of paper. Now, I have to confess, I did one or two of these, and I created this form to try to compact it all into one piece of paper. And I hadn't done it. And I said, I can't do this again without doing this myself. So I took the time, and I wrote it all out. And it has been so powerful for me. Because there are people on this like, wow, they really are important to me. I need to reach out more often. And then I saw there's some holes. I don't even have people for this. Of the hundreds of thousands of people that I know, I don't even have people here. Very powerful. Now all of a sudden, it's easier for me to keep track of my support system because it's all on one piece of paper. So again, I know it's there. Most of you will be inclined to skip this and never complete this. I encourage you to do so. It's very powerful. And then in the end, no one has ever achieved greatness alone. You can't achieve greatness under a bridge. You're gonna need a support system. So knowing that, and knowing that my great goal is to have an indelible impact in your life, and the only way for it to be sustained is for you to reinforce your support system. Now let's talk about wrapping this all up. Before you get back into your environment, I want you to pick out the top 10 ideas and write it on a sheet, and then vet the 10 ideas. On a scale of 1 to 10, you want to determine how fast is it to implement that idea, how easy is it to implement that idea on a scale of 1 to 10, and how profitable is it if you implement that idea? Because what happens is we collect these ideas and then we fall in love with an idea and we realize later it's not so easy to implement. Or it's going to take 6 months. Or even if you implemented it, it's not very profitable. So the best way to vet your new ideas is to run it through this criteria. I got this from Robert Bloom, just an amazing CEO. I use this as my vetting process for all new ideas. So I don't get distracted in how shiny it is, how fast, how easy, how profitable. Great process that I just passed along to you right there. And then figure out what are your top 3. Because if you have more than 3 ideas, you probably don't have any. So figure out what the top 3 ideas, out of all of what we've covered, every place that we've come from, what are your top 3? And then I just want you to pick the next action. Not your project plan. Don't Gantt chart it. Just the next action. All I want to do is have you do this. Because I know that if I can break inertia, if I can get you moving just on the next action, you're more likely to continue forward. So just write what the next action is. It might just be calling and setting an appointment with your partner. It might be calling this client and arranging a conference call. Like just whatever it is, what's the next action? And a great idea that came out of one of the HPF events, he collected 52 what he said were business transforming ideas. But they were stuck in the manual. The manual for the form is like this thick. Right, Michael? It's this thick. And he said, I had to get it out of the manual. It was locked in there. It was like they're prisoner in there. I took each idea and I wrote each idea on the note card, and then I described the idea on the back. And so I had 52 ideas. And then he said, I boiled it down to the top 20. And then I prioritized them 1 to 20, and I put it in a stack. And then I took the top one off, I read it, and then implemented it. And then when that one idea was implemented and on its way, then I took the other 19, respread them out on the desk. Because now the world has changed. Priorities might be different. And then I reprioritized them, took the next one off, took it out, and then executed on that. And that was the way, he said, before I went to seminars, great ideas, locked in the manual, never executed on any of them. Getting it out of the manual, great idea, I pass it on to you. Another great idea I got from somebody else that had come to one of these summits, he said, I took all the best notes that I took from your summit, and then I recorded in my voice those ideas into an audio recorder. And then I listened to that every day for 30 days. And he said, that's when it started to cement. That's when it started to crystallize. Now, he says, your words have become my words. Brilliant idea into itself, so I offer you that. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing at the peak. We have arrived. We have made it to the summit. Before, I want to leave you with a final, very important thought. As you review your notes, as you consider what this day has meant to you, the shifts that have gone on inside you, I want to leave you with some very important words. So after that trip on the beach with my wife, I was with my dad a couple of weeks later, and we're driving down the street, and I was going to have one of those like come clean conversations, right? So I'm saying, I figured it out. The reason why I'm so screwed up, I'm so addicted to achievement, I can't turn my head off, all of it is your fault. You made me this way because the only way we got love and attention from you is when we achieved. You made me this achievement addict. And he looked over at me very frankly and said, you know, every parent screws up their kid. Looks like you're doing all right. And he was right. If you're going to screw up your kid, he screwed me up pretty good, right? And my dad, you know, I told you how gruff he was, but my dad was my best friend in life. In fact, at my wedding, he was my best man. He was the only member of my party at my wedding. We were so close. We grew up together. I loved him before I met my wife more than anybody else on the planet, right? And he came by his gruffness naturally. His father was way worse. My grandfather, when we would go to elementary school, his house was close to the elementary school, so we would go there and wait for my dad to pick us up. And when we went there, if he'd prepare some food for us and we didn't like it, he'd say, well, if you don't eat it, you don't clog up my plumbing. Suit yourself, right? So we'd spend the day there, and then my dad would come about 6:30, and he'd honk, and my grandfather wouldn't even get up from his chair or even look over the newspaper. All he would do is yell out, hallelujah. Hey, don't slam the door, damn it. That was the way he was. All right, so one day, and I remember like it was yesterday, I hear the familiar honk, and I go to pick up my book bag and my jacket at the time, which was actually that green Catholic school sweater, right? And I put my things together, and I go booking it out the front door. And I look over my shoulder, and here comes my grandfather. Well, that's weird. He never comes outside when we're leaving. And I could still hear the scuffle of his house slippers as he came down the driveway in his white undershirt. And I got into the car, into the back seat, put on my seatbelt, and he reached his hand through the window and patted me on the head. I thought, that's weird. And then he went around to the driver's side, and as he passed my father, he put his hand on his shoulder, and they exchanged a few words. I don't know, 5, maybe 10. And my father slides into the driver's seat, turns the key. We exit the driveway. And as we're driving down the road, I twist in my seat and I look out the back window. And my grandfather's coming down the driveway, waving, waving, waving. I thought, that's weird. That's the last time I ever saw my grandfather. My stepmother came into my room early that morning and said, your grandfather died last night. My father had gone over to his house and found him laying on the floor of his kitchen, coffee still hot. He had a heart attack, died that night. So many of you know that my father, he passed away last year as well, of bone cancer. A 9-month fight with bone cancer. How ironic is that? The guy who said, you can't come out of the game unless you're showing bone, dies of bone cancer. I mean, sometimes there's this like cosmic comedy going on simultaneously, right? So before he passed, I went up there to spend the weekend with him. He was not doing well. And so I dropped everything, canceled all my appointments, and flew up there just to spend the weekend with him. So we're up there, and we had just an amazing time, right? Just talking, just connecting, just reminiscing. We even sat outside, and you heard about my dad. He's a big gruff, not very nurturing. He has a place that backs up to the golf course, and we were just sitting there looking at the golf course, and I reached over, and I held his hand, right? And so the weekend is coming to an end, and we're all just sort of not wanting it to end, but it's time, I got to catch a plane. So I pick up my briefcase, pick up my suitcase, and I start collecting my things, and I get ready to say goodbye. And he's scuffling around to put on his shoes. I'm like, Dad, no, let's just say goodbye here, right? He's like, no, he insists. And at that point, it was excruciatingly painful for him to just bend over to put on his shoes. And it's like a 3 or 4 minute struggle for him to do so. He finally gets his slippers on, and he reaches for his cane, he's wobbling and so forth, and we end up walking down the sidewalk to the car. So while I'm saying goodbye to his wife, hugging his wife, Beverly, he walks over to the driver's side of the door. When I come over to him, he puts his hand on my shoulder and says, well, one sentence, I'll never forget it. Looks like you have to take it from here, kid. And we hugged, and I got in the car, pulling out the driveway. I'm adjusting the rearview mirror, and I see my dad coming down the driveway, waving as if he's chasing the car. The last time I ever saw him, 9 days later, he was dead. So here we are, all day. All the love, passion, and energy that I could put into one day to give you the tools that could equip you to achieve dreams, goals, and ambitions you've always dreamed of having. And I passed forward the last words my father left me. Looks like you have to take it from here. And when you do, great things will come. And all I ask of you is just let me know where you've arrived at the end of the journey. Thank you all for being here. This has been an amazing experience. Thank you all very much. Thank you all.